In a stunning turn of events, just yesterday afternoon, China and the United States issued a joint statement after 2 days of high-stakes negotiations in Geneva, Switzerland. The result, a temporary reduction in tariffs between the two economic superpowers for the next 90 days. Under the new agreement, the US will impose a 30% tariff on Chinese goods, and China will impose a 10% tariff on US goods. This deal has confused many observers. Why would China agree to a deal where their exports are taxed 3 times more than American goods going into China? Some have even said that Beijing lost face and walked away with a bad deal. But the reality is actually quite the opposite, and in this video I'll explain why. The talks were led by Chinese Premier Qi Feng and US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent alongside US Trade Representative Jameson Greer. After intense discussions, both sides agreed to roll back all tariffs introduced after the so-called Liberation Day on April the 2nd, a key demand China had been insisting on since the Trump administration first escalated this trade war. So let's break this down. China's core condition for re-entering negotiation was that the US remove all post-April the 2nd tariffs implemented by the Trump administration. The US agreed. Those specific tariffs have now been officially scrapped. In return, China matched that move by removing the retaliatory tariffs it placed after April the 2nd. So why is there still a 30% versus a 10% gap? The answer lies in timing. Before the trade war escalated in April, tariffs already stood at 30% on Chinese goods entering the US and 10% on US goods entering China. Those baseline tariffs are now simply being restored. The extra 20% that had been layered on earlier this year, two separate 10% hikes imposed by Trump on February the 4th and March the 4th, have now been rolled back. As for China's 10% tariff on US goods, that was their initial response to Trump's first wave of tariffs and remains in place because it predates April the 2nd. Some have asked, why are the so-called fentanyl tariffs still in place, and what does that have to do with trade? Well, the fentanyl issue is separate. It falls under public security and not commerce, and was not part of the weekend's discussions. The Geneva meeting focused strictly on trade. US officials like Scott Bessent and Jameson Greer weren't authorized to address that issue, nor was it brought to the table. On the Chinese side, fentanyl policy is handled by the Public Security Ministry, not the Commerce Ministry. That said, both sides have agreed to continue broader diplomatic talks, so issues like fentanyl may well be addressed in the coming weeks. So let's wrap this up clearly. China made one demand: remove all tariffs imposed after April the 2nd. The US met that demand. China reciprocated. The 30% and 10% tariffs we see now are simply the original rates before this April escalation. This is not a sign of China losing. If anything, it shows Beijing got exactly what it asked for and more talks are on the horizon. This agreement marks an important step towards restoring normalcy in global trade. The next 90 days will be critical as both countries test this new path of cooperation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Was this a smart move by China, or did the US come out on top? As always, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.